Good evening, everybody, and welcome to East Devon District Council's Cabinet meeting for the 2nd of October 2024. I'm your Chair, Councillor Paul Arnott, and I'd like to welcome anyone watching the meeting via live streaming. We'll now start the meeting by doing a roll call of committee members here present, including our declarations of interest. Debbie, please.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies that I'm showing the wrong name underneath. Just, we'll go with that as our first technical hitch of the evening. So, members of Cabinet, good evening. When I call out your name, I'd just like you to announce that you are present. But to keep you on camera for a little bit longer, because if you're very quick with that button, we barely see you, could you please let me know if you have any declarations? And when I've done that roll call, I'll extend that to other councillors in the room. So, Chair, if I may start with you. Thank you very much.
Present, no declarations.
Thank you. Moving on to Councillor Hayward, please.
Present, no declarations, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Councillor Hawkins.
Present with no declarations.
Thank you. And Councillor Hookway, please.
Present, declarations for agenda items 9 and 11, affects NRI, member of Exmouth Town Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jackson next, please.
Present and nothing at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Young.
I'm present and I've got no declarations that I know of, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ledger.
Present, and with the agenda item engineering projects, I'm a member of Seaton Town Council. That's just affects NRI.
Thank you very much. Councillor Loudon next.
I'm present, Debbie, thank you, and no declarations.
Thank you. On to Councillor Olive.
I promise I do know how to use this. I'm present and I have no declarations.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you do. And last but by no means least, Councillor Rickson.
Present and no declarations, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. I can confirm your quorum, so back to you.
I think also we're asking all other councillors if they wish to make a declaration at this point.
Thank you, Chair. I'm obviously having my own technical difficulties this evening. So, are there any other members who wish to make a declaration? If you can raise your hand so I can see Councillor Steve Gazzard.
Thank you. Effects NRI for items 9 and 11. I'm an Exmouth Town Councillor.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members? Councillor Jenny Brown.
Item 14, Honiton Town Councillor.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other hands, so back to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Thank you, members. Agenda item 1 is the minutes of the previous meeting of the 4th of September 2024. If anyone has a comment on these, please do so by raising your hand. If no hands are raised, which they aren't, I will take this as an indication you will agree that the minutes are accurate. They are recommended to be agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 2 is apologies. Debbie, please.
So I don't have any apologies, Chair, unless someone else has one for me. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. We have already done these during a roll call. Now, just a little announcement about the running order. In the light of us having 2 registered speakers on item 14 on the agenda, the dogs one, and officer availability for item 12, I propose to take agenda item 12 immediately after public speaking, followed by agenda item, 14, and then 12 on the financial monitoring report after that, before returning to the remainder of the agenda. So that then takes us to public speaking. We have 2 public speakers, Ms. Yvette Turner, Mr. Christopher Miller. So Yvette or Christopher, whoever wishes to go first, please come up. And once you've pressed your button and start speaking, you've got 3 minutes, please. Thank you.
My name is Yvette Turner. I'm here to represent the Kilmington Resident Dog Walking Group with 156 signatures from residents of Kilmington. The PSPO restrictions that have been placed on Kilmington playing fields are unjust, as it can be seen in the evidence I have presented to the meeting. 1, the residents were not made aware that the PSPO had been applied for. 2, there was no public consultation with the residents by the trustees or parish council. EDDC were informed by the trustees the 21st of October 22 that they had not undertaken any form of public consultation. The request for the PSPO from the trustees was received on the 21st of October 22. EDDC confirmed that the public consultation had already started. Was the request added to the public consultation late, or was the request just added to the PSPO list by EDDC? If so, the public would not have had the opportunity to object. 6, the residents were only informed in April 23, too late to object. There's Home Office guidelines for PSPO on page 69 that were not taken into consideration. 1, there was no sign to inform residents that a PSPO had been applied for. 2, there was no public consultation. 3, there are no alternative areas in Kilmington for the elderly, people with reduced mobility and disabled residents to access safely and exercise their dogs off lead. 3, the Arthur Hitchcock Charity Trustees inquired about a PSPO in October 21, stating that they were the Kilmington Cricket Field Trust, which is on private land. The Kilmington playing field was gifted to the residents of Kilmington by the Arthur Hitchcock Charity with the object for recreation and other leisure time occupation to improve the conditions of life for the said inhabitants, not a cricket club on private land. Myself and members of the Kilmington Resident Dog Walking Group have checked the playing field twice a day from April 23 to date. Please see evidence submitted for dogs and wild animal faeces. There is definitely not a problem with dog faeces as stated by the trustees. The cricket club have monopolised the playing field. There is no more summer fete on the field. Goalposts removed from the field. The cricket pitch is always roped off in the summer and fenced off in the winter. Therefore, dogs or children cannot scratch up the pitch. The residents and children are being alienated from the playing field. The residents would like to propose a compromise to suit all ages of Kilmington residents. May to October between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m, dogs are not allowed in the field. All other times, dogs can be exercised off lead. October to May, there are no restrictions.
Could you begin to wind up if you can, please? You're at 3 minutes.
I've got a little bit at the bottom.
Yes, please, thank you.
This has worked on Devon beaches, so we are confident it would work in Kilmington. The residents are happy to check the field twice a day and speak to everybody listed in using the field in a positive way about taking care to pick up after their dogs. This positive approach has been proved to work by Pebblebed Heath Conservation Trust, a successful approach to dog fouling management on Devon heathlands.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Yvette Turner. We now got Christopher Miller, please.
Could you just switch off and on your microphone again, please, Mr. Miller, just so your countdown starts. Thank you.
My name is Chris Miller. I am a resident of Kilmington Village. I'm here tonight to speak about the PSPO, Public Space Protection Order. In the Kilmington recreation field, there is more chance of being injured by a cricket ball than a dog. The Kilmington recreation field is not the same as other council-owned playing fields in Devon. It was left in trust to residents of Kilmington by Arthur Hitchcock and is registered as such with the Charities Commission. Stated on the website is the charitable objects of the trust, which is a legal document, and I quote, "The provision and maintenance of a recreation ground for the use of inhabitants of the parish of Kilmington without distinction of political, religious or other opinions, including the provision or assistance towards the provision on the recreation ground or any part thereof of facilities for recreation and other leisure time occupation. with the objects of improving the conditions of life for the said inhabitants. 2, the land and buildings shall be held upon trust for the object of the charity. Unquote. The population of Kilmington include many elderly and disabled residents who would find it impossible to exercise their dog effectively on the lead. There is no other area in the village that is suitable for this. Therefore, in order to be fair to all residents of Kilmington, I urge you to reject this PSPO application and consider our alternative proposal, which successfully works on many Devon beaches. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Miller.
Sorry.
So I'll just seek a sort of brief answer to that from Matt Blythe on behalf of Sally Webster, who's our Principal Environmental Officer. Matt, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. At the risk of sounding unhelpful, which I don't wish to be, the report that's in front of you tonight, which will be the next agenda item, isn't requiring or requesting any decision from Cabinet tonight about the PSPO. It's requesting permission to go out to consultation, and a couple of amendments are required within the PSPO. We are not looking to actually change anything at the moment. However, the reviews of the public, both from Ms Turner and Mr Miller, and for anyone else, will be open in due course. So tonight is purely about asking for your Cabinet approval to go out to that consultation. So once we actually do go out to that consultation, then there will be the opportunity to share those views and potentially other views too from the local populace to give Cabinet sufficient knowledge to make that decision.
Thank you very much, Matt, and the residents of Kilmington have been savvy enough to take this opportunity to talk to this item because it's on the agenda. So thank you for that, and the extensive documentation, including a Bible-length document on how many poos, not many, are on the cricket pitch at various times of the year. So that made entertaining reading. Thank you very much for coming tonight. So we then move on to we stay with Matt Blythe for that agenda item 14, amendments to the Public Spaces Protection Order Dog Control 2023.
Thank you, Chair. As members will have read, the Public Space Protection Order regarding dogs was brought in January given to Cabinet on 4th of January 2023 for decision, and it was agreed that the draft provided would be made in and sealed as the Public Space Protection Order. Unfortunately, there were some transcription errors in the final version, so the version that Cabinet saw was not the final version that ended up on the website. When we noticed this, and it was in part in relation to Mrs Turner's complaint regarding it, we noticed that there have been these errors. We've spoken to our legal team. The legal team advised that as this is effectively a local law, we need to ensure that further consultation is carried out. So the original recommendation regarding Kilmington Playing Field and also All Hallows Rugby Club, rugby field, need to go back out to specific consultation in those areas. So for that reason, and we also have a spelling issue, Colleton Rally, which is incorrect, which we'll pick up at the same time and make that amendment. So what we're asking for tonight, and the recommendation before Cabinet, is that you give us the okay to go out to further consultation on those specific amendments required to make it accurate going forwards.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Matt. Members, anybody from outside of Cabinet like to comment or ask any questions on that? Yes, Councillor Barlow, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wonder if you could clarify. I'm just reading it. Cabinet approves that All Hallows rugby pitches be a dog exclusion area. Full stop. It currently states All Hallows Playing Field is a dog exclusion area. What exactly are you asking for?
I think we're looking for permission to consult on that, is my understanding. But Matt, is that correct, basically?
It's a relatively minor distinction, but it's All Hallows rugby pitches rather than All Hallows playing field, and that's a distinction we're making. There's a different piece of land, if you like, hence why. So initial reading, it looks the same, it's not.
Cabinet, anybody want to say anything about that? Now, oh yes, Councillor Olive.
I was going to propose the recommendations in the report, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Rickson, as well. So,
Second.
thank you very much. In which case, all those in favour, please. That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you, public speakers, again. Do stay if you want. It gets more exciting after this, I promise you. So again, we're changing the agenda item. We go to agenda item 12 now, the Financial Monitoring Report 2024 to 25 for month 5, August. And we've got a report from John Symes, our Finance Manager. John, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, as you've said, the Financial Monitoring Report provides an update to month 5. It's providing variance analysis and explanation, but overall, current monitoring and forecasting provides positive outturn positions. So just diving into the report, for each section, starting on the general fund, we're currently predicting to be in a surplus position, and therefore the general fund balance is currently being maintained above the adopted level. Table at 2.1 within the report details this, along with the approved in-year use of that general fund balance. The tables and explanations give more detail of those general fund variances within that overall positive position. Two main adverse variances that are reported, one being planning fees are down on the set budget, and the second one is the budgeted savings within public conveniences service area have yet to be achieved. However, these are being offset by enhanced investment returns. So that's all detail that's given within Appendix 1 of the report. Turning to Section 3, which covers the housing revenue account, we're currently forecasting a positive outturn position against the revised budget that was approved in July. The revised budget and the in-year use of the HRA balance is reflected in the table at 3.3 of the report. The current surplus position is broken down within the report, but compared to budget, income is forecast to be 77,000 in surplus. Repairs and maintenance, along with supervision and management, are predicted underspends at this point. The HRA is also, like the general fund, benefiting from increased investment returns. So this is currently forecast to be 396,000 favourable. So weekly monitoring of the HRA is being undertaken, and this includes further work and refinement of the spending projections for the remainder of the year. Moving on to section 3.29, this is housing capital, so the housing capital programme. So actual spend at the end of month 5 was 5.1 million, which is within the year-to-date budget. For the predicted outturn, it's assumed that any capital underspends in totality will be subject to carry forward requests for the spend to be then spent on projects in the following year. Section 4 picks up just the capital programme. Again, there's more detail at Appendix 3. The final section, being section 5, is treasury management. So that's providing a forecast surplus variance. Just gives you the detail behind that, that position. And the portfolio detail is at Appendix 4. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, John, very much for that. Can I look for questions or comments from outside of Cabinet first, please? Councillor Goodman, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that report. Just a couple of points. On page 34 is the capital expenditure for housing, which is under budget by a total of 600k, but there's various differences in there of actuals to budget, which do concern me. Have you got any idea, and you may not be able to answer this, why we haven't spent our capital considering our housing issues? That's my first point. And the other one is moving to the general fund, page 37. There's 2 points here. Point 5 on finances This includes car parking, and the note says it's because car parking income is down. Do we know why? Point 6, the over expenditure on street scene, actually, in the note, I don't see it explained. There's a reference to the budget on trees, and I'm sure the council will spend that as they develop the tree strategy. But there's still a difference of 263k, which I don't see an explanation for. Thank you.
There's a fair few questions there. John, are you able to help us with those? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The first one being the Housing Capital Programme spend. That is just being looked at as we go through the year. That programme is being developed more and more all the time. So, like I said, the year-to-date number is under budget, if you like, but the forecasts we're working on, we see that it coming in budget, hence any underspend we'd be looking to carry forward at that point. Car parking income, Richard may be able to help me out, but in terms of the projected, in terms of the income line, the variance is actually very, very small as a percentage. I don't know if there's any particular reasons behind that. So that was that one. If you could repeat the third question, please.
Being overspent by 263. Okay.
Sorry, Councillor Goodman, could you point out where that is?
Yeah, so you've got item page 37, point 6 of the report, point 7 of the report, the street scene is overspent by a small amount. Is there any reason for that, or? And I just wondered if there was anything to do with the waste contract.
That particular point goes back to the public conveniences saving not being yet realised.
Thank you, John. I think it's a 1% variance street scene, isn't it? Is that correct? Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you, Councillor Goodman. So coming to Councillor Ledger, please, then. Thank you.
Yes, Chair, it's just to give a bit more clarity on the capital fund. Councillor will remember that we paused the capital funds at a point at the start of the year as we revised the budget because we felt that it wasn't sufficient. That had to get agreed by council, so that did delay some of the plans, but we'll pick that up throughout the year. So that's why you're currently seeing an underspend on it. I assure you it will all be spent.
Yes. Joyfully, we are only looking at month 5, aren't we? So plenty of room for this plot to thicken all round, I'd say. Anybody else like to speak on that? We're asked Cabinet to acknowledge this is what's going on there. So I'll propose that from the chair, if I may. So all those in, let's get a second of Councillor Jackson for form. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, John, and thank you any officers who can now make their way home safely. Good. So we now come back to the agenda. Agenda item 5, matters of urgency. There are none. Agenda item 6 is confidential or exempt items. There is one item to be dealt with in this way at agenda item 17, when we will pass into part B, if that is called by my deputy leader. We go to the minutes part of the meeting now. The minutes of the Joint Executive Committee of Strata, 3rd of September 2024. Any particular recommendations on this, or can we agree to move this forward? Councillor Barlow, please.
Sorry, Chair, I read this and it was very interesting, but where are the reports so we can actually see what we're agreeing to? So we've got your report, but we don't have any where it says you were agreeing to reports and discussing it, and so we knew what it was about.
Yes, I see your point, Councillor. So there are no recommendations there, but the reports associated with this, you'll have had the agenda papers that went to the Strata Joint Executive Committee, and I think probably the week before even those that went to the Scrutiny Committee too. So we wouldn't normally bundle them into these agenda papers for Cabinet, but they're there to see.
I'm being told they're in team bridges, but I haven't seen any of them, but I couldn't find them on our website. So I just wondered where they were. It was just asking a question.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. We'll get officers to have a look and make sure they're visible. Thank you.
Yeah, we believe that they're linked to Team Bridges, so there is a link there to Team Bridges' website.
No, thank you, Ian, for pointing that out. That's well worth knowing. Agenda item 8 is the minutes of the. So, in essence, we are moving forward with those agenda item 7 minutes without any specific recommendations. Yeah. Agenda item 8, similar question for the minutes of the placemaking in Exmouth Town and Seafront Group held on the 9th of September. Anybody like to comment on those at all? Members of Cabinet, by show of hands, are you happy to just move those forward? Thank you very much. Yep, good. Agenda item 9, that's the minutes done. We now come to new sites to the East Devon District Council Civil Enforcement Off-Street Parking Places Order. And welcome, Richard, Easthope. You'll get used to just suddenly appearing on this monstrous camera after about 5 years. I'd have thought I'm going to be in therapy for this. To present your report, Parking Services Manager.
Thank you. I'll try and make the title a bit longer.
My tip is just don't look at yourself.
No, I wasn't
just look at me. Just look straight in my eyes.
No, so I'll look down. So yeah, this report has 3 separate sites to be considered to be added to the off-street parking order. The first is an opportunity that has arisen in Sidmouth, which is the old car park for the Blackmore Drive surgery, which has recently closed down. So that was on a long lease to the NHS and has now been returned to us. So we have the opportunity to create a 19-space shoppers pay and display car park. So it's directly opposite the library site, as I know my maps weren't particularly useful at highlighting exactly where that particular car park is. So it's currently an unregulated space, meaning that vehicles can park in there for as long as they want, which means there's no real turnover, so it's not much use to the shops or to the library or to the gym, which are all in the vicinity of the car park. So the proposal for that site is to create a 2-hour maximum, or is to implement a 2-hour maximum stay, which will be very similar to the restrictions in place in Roxburgh car park. And so for a bit of context, Mill Street car park also has 19 pay and display bays and has around 15 to 1700 visitors each month. So I think once this car park is established, if approved, it will be very well used and will be an asset to the town. So that's the first site. The second site is the land at Camperdown Terrace in Exmouth. This is a slipway that leads onto the ex-estuary, and there's previously been issues with vehicles parking on the wet side, or what would be the wet side of the flood defence barrier, and also parking obstructing the barrier and stopping it from closing. So this will involve creating 2 permit spaces that can be used by Exmouth Town permit holders, and allowing us to enforce and manage that space to prevent people parking from on the wet side of the barrier, allowing the floodgates to be closed. The third site is a request from our sheltered housing team. So Albion Court, for those of you who know it, is sheltered housing land very close to Exmouth Town Centre, and also very close to the London Hotel car park. So this has been an ongoing issue for many years with vehicles parking in that space, which has prevented residents from getting out and also from using the bays directly outside of their accommodation. So the idea there is to have a regulated permit scheme that will be managed by the sheltered housing team, but will be managed by our civil enforcement officers. So those without a permit will not be able to park in that area. So there's 25 houses there, and I think there's only 9 or 10 spaces, but sort of unauthorised parking has sort of been blocking the residents from leaving their properties or from leaving their parking spaces, meaning that they've missed appointments and other such things. So that is a summary of the 3 sites. They can all be considered individually, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on those.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Richard. We have Blackmore Drive, Sidmouth, Camperdown Terrace, Exmouth, and Albion Court Sheltered Housing in Exmouth. Councillor Barlow, please.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to declare an interest. I am a member of Sidmouth Town Council. I just wanted to confirm that Folk Week and the Jazz Festival both use that car park for the backstage, if you like, of their festivals. And I just wanted to say that we're not going to be tucking them up for any more, because obviously those festivals are important to Sidmouth and East Devon. And times are hard, and we just don't want to make sure that we're not just going to add many more thousands of pounds to their bill.
Thank you. Yeah, that was also raised by the town clerk from Sidmouth as well. So, I mean, there is an events policy and there's a concessions policy as well that accompanies that. But yeah, the idea is that it's used as a shoppers car park, and any sort of requests for concessionary use will be considered in the normal way.
Can we, sorry, Chair, through you, but could we put a marker down now that these are important to those festivals? And you know, again, cost is important. They've always been given those free up until now for many, many years. And much as you may be leasing that out at a very pittance whatever to the NHS, there's no benefit to East Devon District Council of that. And at the end of the day, there is a benefit, huge benefit for the festival and also the festival to East Devon. So I would like to just put that down, that much as I have no problem, as I said, with you charging for that, but these 2 things are important. It's 2 weeks of the year.
Thanks, Ian, and that's been heard, and I'm sure minuted as well, and Richard's covered it with the events team who do extraordinarily sophisticated work, actually. There's a massive thing happening in beer soon, so they are very agile and sympathetic. Thank you. Councillor Gazard, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a question on Site 3, Albion Court. In the interest of openness and transparency, have the residents been consulted about this?
So this is for, I believe this change has been implemented for the residents, so organised by the sheltered housing team who manage that particular block. So it's the residents that have been experiencing issues, so it would be for their benefit that this change will be made. So as a trial permit scheme, so a sort of a false permit scheme was trialled in that area, so all of the residents were given a sort of a visible permit to put in their windscreen in the hope that that would deter unauthorised parking, but it didn't have it didn't have the desired effect, unfortunately. So.
Thank you, Councillor Gassard, Richard, very much. Anybody else from outside of Cabinet? No, in which case, Councillor Loudon, please.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, apologies. I should have declared I'm a Sidmouth Town Councillor, therefore affects NRI. Like Councillor Barlow, I welcome this additional car park in the Sid Valley, much needed. Well, I say much needed, but this summer has been a pretty poor summer, and quite often I think we've not had as many visitors, tourists into Sidmouth, and I suspect the whole of East Devon, because of the difficult weather. And I look forward to a return to decent weather. I look forward to return packed car parks, including this one. But, you know, let's note, right across the southwest, there have been concerns about the loss of income across the whole of the southwest because of the poor weather and people staying away for whatever reason. So that may be also touching on Councillor Goodman's comment earlier.
Absolutely. Don't mention the poo as well. That's the key thing here, isn't it? I know, sorry, I mentioned it. It was implicit, wasn't it, Councillor Loudon? So, Councillor Ledger, please.
Chair, can I just propose the recommendations as listed in the report, please?
Thank you very much. That looks like Councillor Loudon joyfully seconding it. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, Richard, for that. Thank you, members. Agenda item 10, we move on to now the Fennerton Flood Alleviation Scheme update. And we're going to hear from Jeff Young, Councillor Jeff Young, our portfolio holder for Coast, Country and Environment. Over to you, please, Jeff.
Thank you, Chair. As portfolio holder, I am introducing this item this evening, as it is a simple request for Cabinet to vary the required standing order. The background is there's a connection to the background is that there's a connection. This is the final connection phase for the Fennerton Flood Alleviation Scheme, which is now in progress. Many thanks to our engineer, Tom Buxton-Smith, and our contractor, Kier, for their contributions on this long-awaited scheme. Also, our funders from the Environment Agency, South West Flood and Coastal Committee, and Devon County Council. This is a simple belt and braces request for the Council to potentially increase the funding provision for the contract with Kier from 3.5 million to 3.8. This is just in case that during the construction, the costs may need to increase due to the unexpected issues. However, this possible extra funding is coming from extra external funding, which we have requested from external contributions. Like all construction jobs, we plan for the unexpected and try to account for these risks in our costings, but you never know 100%. Therefore, I would like to recommend the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Young. So we have a proposer for that. Before I go out to debate, I was reading the Constitution today. Can I just look for a seconder to that as well? Councillor Olive came first. Right, going out to the members, please, first. Would anybody like to speak to that? No, thank you. Anybody within council beyond Councillor Young's contribution like to speak to that? No, if not, let's go to the vote, please, on those recommendations. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed, and thank you, Councillor Young. And that was it was a barracking from the cheap seats as ever. That was an interesting moment there, because we are going to try and move more to portfolio holders presenting reports when it's appropriate, rather than just leaving it to officers as part of our ongoing review of how we do things. So we now go to agenda item 13, please. I'm looking for the name I've got listed here. Oh, she is. Fantastic. Procurement of CBRE to develop a master plan for the second new community. And we've got a report from our corporate lead for major projects and programmes, Naomi Harlett. What have I done?
11. That one comes first.
Oh, I see. Oh, it's Jeff again. I do apologise, Naomi, for giving you an absolute coronary, I should have thought then. Right, so it's just because we've taken out, yes, I now see. Agenda item 11, engineering project contracts over 100,000 for Exmouth and Seaton. We're back to Jeff, please, for this.
Yeah, again, as portfolio holder, I am introducing this item for the notification to Cabinet on spending for these schemes going over the £100,000 threshold. However, we are receiving contributions from government and elsewhere to help towards these important schemes. The three schemes are the Exmouth Beach Management, Exmouth Emergency Seawall Repairs, Phase 2, and the Seaton Hole Coast Protection Schemes. I'll stop there and I'll come back for recommendation.
Thank you very much. Any members from outside of Cabinet? Yes, Councillor Brian Bailey, please.
Thank you, Leader. This repair of the seawall is in my ward, just by a few feet when the tide comes in. And may I say that they've done an excellent job. The engineering's superb. The amount of people that we're an eye on the beach most days, weather permitting, the amount of people that stop and say, what a wonderful job it is. And it's been done extremely quickly. And I'm pleased to say the railings that are going to be there now, instead of raising the height of the wall, is a better plan than the original one. And I, for one, would like to say it's a wonderful job. And the people of Exmouth are rather pleased. Thank you, Chair.
May I introduce you to the Exmouth Facebook page later this evening then for that? But no, thank you, Brian. That's very much appreciated. Thank you for that. I happened to be just off the coast of Exmouth on a boat yesterday going past, and so you could see it from the sea. And it is a tidy job, even for them. We were worried, weren't they, about just putting steels in like that. They kind of look fine as they stand. Councillor Hartnell, please. Yes, thank you. So let's just humiliate Marcus as much as we can. So he was late. He hasn't got his special card. He doesn't know he's meant to have a special card. Oh dear.
Apologies, Chair.
Thank you,
I hadn't
Councillor
planned
Hartnell.
to speak, but I've just noticed something in the report that I'd just like to pick up on. So, Section 3, the breakdown of finances for the Seton Hole Coast Protection Scheme doesn't add up. It should come to 2.7, not 3.562. So it's just a typo, I would imagine, but just to point out. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I heard a sort of moany groany sound from our 151 over to the left there. So have you noted that one, Simon, then?
I think, oh, sorry.
Well, now he's a bank manager. He's looking after the pounds and the pennies. Right. Thank you, Councillor Hartnell, very much for that. So, yes, Councillor Steve Gazzard, please.
Thank you, Chair. Like my colleague, Councillor Brian Bailey, I would also like to say a huge thank you for the work that's been done along the seafront in Exmouth, because it is so important. And I hope Cabinet will endorse the report tonight. But I've just got a question on 2.5 in the report. Have we got a timescale when the rest of it's going to be done, as set out in the paragraph there, please? Or is it just going to be left and be done as and when the money becomes available? Because I think it is imperative that we have some sort of timescale when that's going to be done, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I can give you an answer on that. It's going to be the week after half term, whenever that is. We'll be getting engineers on site then. I can't give you a time how long it's going to take, because it depends on how many storms we have to absorb during the construction.
Thank you, Councillor Gazzard. So that's all speakers from outside the Cabinet. Cabinet, anybody else wish to speak on that? Do we have a proposal from Councillor Young? We do.
Yeah, just one point. The railings that Councillor Bailey was praising are actually temporary railings. We might, if we get extra funds, put other railings there, and also facing to the steel piling. That's going to be in the future.
Yes. How temporary are we looking at? Years, decades, temporary, or weeks, months?
Depends when we get the go ahead from council for more expenditure.
Okay.
I'm looking at Simon there.
Okay. Go on then, Brian. Come in briefly. Thank you.
Thank you much. The railings, albeit temporary, are very strong, very substantial, and I fail to see the reason for replacing them. To be honest with you, it saves some money.
Well, I'm sure Councillor Young's glad he's mentioned that one now.
Well, I'm all for saving money.
Of course, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Do you wish to blow your own toes off in another way, Jeff, before we go to the vote?
I recommend the proposals as written. Thank you.
With Councillor Olive seconding with his young reflexes. Sorry, Councillor Ledger. In which case, then, Cabinet, can we go to a vote on that? All those in favour, please.
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Thank you, members. Thank you, Jeff. Now we go to agenda item 13. Thank you, Deputy. The procurement of CBRE to develop a master plan for the second new community. We have a report from Naomi Harnett, our corporate lead for major projects and programmes. Naomi, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the report summarises the work that we've undertaken to procure appropriate support for our master plan for the second new community, and this report is required to notify Cabinet that we're undertaking this work as it exceeds 100,000 in value. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Katie, for that. That was yeah, no, too late. Right, fantastic. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Barlow, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wonder, if why we do contracts sometimes. You know, this contract was a £299,000 to start with. There's things in it like the reason that we're now having to have this upgrade of 57% for another £171,000 is because we now need to make sure that there is robust evidence. Whereas if CBRE are supposed to be the experts that they are, which is why we spend so much money with them, I just wonder, why did they not think it was going to be robust evidence that was required in the first place for the local plan? Additional costs of meetings, not having, again, COVID is being blamed. This report was supposed to be finished in January 23, and now we're spending another 57%, and we're adding in a few extra little bits. I just think, again, we do a contract. Why did we do the contract if we weren't ready for the contract? Who was chasing this contract? And if we were chasing it, why are we now having to spend 57% extra? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Naomi, would you want to come back on that? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the additional work is required as we've moved forward from that initial conceptual work, looking at the variety of options, and so members of Cabinet will be aware of the various options we were considering as an authority. To progress that forward, so we've got robust evidence base for our emerging local plan, this additional work is required to move these forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Naomi. So this is covered in a way by that old chestnut, Rome isn't built in a day. I completely understand, Ian, what you're saying about consultants. Oh, you don't want to have to pay them, do you? However, the clue is in the title of this agenda item, to develop a master plan for a second new community. And the challenge with that is, inevitably, the more ambitious you are to try and get that right, and for it to be a holding, a binding master plan that will go for 20 years effectively to roll out a new community, the more costs like this are likely to go up at the beginning. I completely take your point on that, but it's deep, genuine work that's being done. And one of the things we're having to consider is what model, what governance model we're looking at, and there's active discussion of that at the moment, and that comes at a cost. But back to you, Ian, if I may.
Thank you, Chair. Well, that's wonderful. I wonder what the original contract to CBRE said. Did it say, could we have a half-baked report, or could we have a not quite robust report, or could we say that we're not going to look at all the options? I'm quite sure that when you did this, because this is under your leadership, etc., we were very robust with what we were asking for. Why is it now that we're having to give them 57%? Nothing's changed, other than the fact that we finally got round to picking where the site is going to be. Now, at the end of the day, they must have understood that when they were doing it. They are the experts. That's why we use them. Otherwise, we could have done it in-house.
I'll bring in Councillor Ledger at this point, I think.
I think Councillor Barlow answered his own question. We've decided where the community is going to go. So from that, we now need to develop a master plan that takes in the totality of the area that we're looking at. It's additional work. It's not an amendment to the previous contract. We had the initial work where we scoped out many different sites. Now we're focusing on creating a single master plan for a specific area, and that's what the additional costs are from.
Again, Chair, through you.
Oh,
if
no,
I-
no, that's fine. Thank you, Ian. Anybody
Well,
else?
sorry, Chair, if I can, but
Well,
that's
no, Ian,
not
you
the
can't.
case.
You've had two bites of the cherry. We just
Oh,
need to
but that's
run
because
this.
no one's
Can-
answering the question,
Can
are
you
they?
just stop talking now, please? Thank you. We do
You
need to
can.
keep order here. Sorry. Anybody else from outside of Cabinet like to come forward? No. Within Cabinet then, please. Councillor Olive.
Thank you, Chair. We're noting expenditure exceeding 100k. I'm happy to propose that recommendation.
So Councillor Olive proposing, Councillor Ledger seconding. Let's go to the vote. All those in favour, please.
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, contributors from the floor and Cabinet for that one. We now go to agenda item 16, it must be. If I can find agenda item 16, it's going to be here somewhere. And that is, let's try for 15. Agenda item 15, we are deferring. We are deferring, so that would explain my confusion with my running order. So I'm scanning any number of pieces of paper for the number 16 on there.
15, you're deferring?
Yes.
Do we need a vote to defer? Or just being deferred?
I guess yes on erring on the side of caution, Chair, if you'd like to get your Cabinet to agree to defer that item.
Do we need to give a reason for the deferral?
I don't believe so, Chair, just to defer.
Okay, so on advice, Cabinet, we've been asked to defer this item. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much. And this has evolved since just before the meeting. Thank you. Paul, where are we? Right, forgive me, all sorts of number fun going on here. So I actually now hand over to the Vice Chair, please.
I move that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public, including the press, be excluded from this meeting as exempt information of the description set out on the agenda is likely to be disclosed, and on balance the public interest is in discussing this item in private session, otherwise known as Part B. Thank you. Can I ask for a seconder? Councillor Olive, thank you. All those in favour? I think it's unanimous.
Thank you, Chair. We'll just have a short adjournment so I can